That's where he had the small role.
Maybe. No, he did.
He did. Yeah,
was.
that's ringing a bell.
The snowy field. Almost there, promised Donk. Dink saw a small village in the distance. Dink is riding on the back of Donk as they pass. Need your help. On the edge of the village, Donk whispered, "We don't want to call attention to ourselves. So, let's be a bit sneaky, okay?" Dink slid off Donk's back. "Follow my lead," said Donk. Donk and Dink tiptoed into the village and hid behind a bench on Main Street. Donk pointed to a building across the street. "I want to go inside that building, but I don't know how," said Donk. Donk pointed at a cinema, but he didn't exactly know what it was. He told Dink how he watched people enter the building, then leave later looking happy and excited. And the surrounding area smelled like delicious butter. It was no surprise that Donk wanted to go inside the building. But whenever he ambled up to the door, he was shooed away. "She won't let me in," Donk said and pointed to a woman standing in the cinema's ticket booth. "Why not?" asked Dink. "I don't know," said Donk. "But she scares me, so I was hoping you could ask her how to go inside." Dink looked at the frowning woman in the ticket booth. "This hearing might help," said Dink. She crossed the street and headed for the cinema. When Dink got to the front doors, the ticket seller blocked her way and said things Dink didn't understand. Dink gave her the hearing. "Could you put this in your ear, please?" Dink asked. The ticket seller looked confused, but then attached the hearing. "What's inside this building?" asked Dink. "Films," said the ticket seller. "Exciting stories on a big screen." "Oh," said Dink, excited. "We have something like that on Husharoon." "Husha what?" Dink tried again to go inside the building. "You can't go inside without a ticket." "How do I get a ticket?" asked Dink. "You have to pay money," said the ticket seller. "Oh," said Dink. The ticket lady speaks to Dink. Dink reported to Donk what she'd learned. "Well, how can we get some money?" asked Donk. Just then, they heard singing and guitar playing. Dink and Donk followed the sounds down the street. It was a bearded man performing songs. His guitar case was open on the ground in front of him. When people on the street passed by, they dropped coins into the case. "Hum," said Dink. "Hum, hum, hum," said Donk. Minutes later, Main Street had another music act. Donk and Dink only had one song in common, the Husharoon Schnock's Blackberry Whisper song. So, Dink and Donk sang that song while dancing behind a small cardboard box they'd found. Donk added some extra happa happas and yuppie-doos to the whisper song because, in his opinion, it needed some jazzing up. Dink and Donk dance next to a man with orange hair and sunglasses who is playing a guitar next to an open guitar case. The villagers enjoyed such an unusual sight in their town. Soon enough, a pile of coins had been dropped in the box. "This is surely enough money for film tickets," said Donk. "Let's go." Donk and Dink presented their box of coins to the ticket seller. "2 tickets please," said Dink. "No moose allowed," the ticket seller said. "But," said Dink looking around, "there's nothing saying that moose aren't allowed." The ticket seller didn't know what to do. She believed that moose didn't belong in cinemas. But Dink was right. There was no sign saying moose weren't allowed. But then the ticket seller pointed to a different sign. "This says you can't go inside without shoes and a shirt. So you," she said pointing to Dink, "can go in. But you," she said pointing to Donk, "cannot." Dink and Donk clomped away from the cinema. "But I'm a moose. Where am I going to find clothes for a moose?" Dink smiled and patted Donk. "Leave that to me," said Dink. "I'll see you tomorrow." Dink and Donk walk up to the ticket booth. The ticket woman is inside the booth and there is a sign of clothes stuck on the booth. The next day, when Dink's bubblebus popped back on Earth, she was holding some kind of wand. "This is just what we need to get inside that cinema," said Dink. Donk didn't look excited and Dink asked what was wrong. "I'm excited," said Donk. "But I was telling Tom about our adventure and I accidentally invited him to come with us." Donk doesn't think Tom the muskox is very much fun. "He just likes to eat moss," moaned Donk. "Hi, guys," said Tom, suddenly appearing behind Donk. "Hi, Tom," Dink said. "What's that in your hand?" asked Tom. Dink explained that it's an invention from Husharoon called Instaclothes. "Just think of what you want to wear and poof, you're wearing it." Donk's eyes lit up. "Can I try it?" Donk held the wand in his mouth, closed his eyes and thought very hard. Poof, the moose was now wearing a sparkly jacket, with matching sparkly trousers. Donk has closed eyes and is wearing a pink sparkly jacket and matching trousers. A sparkly wand sticks out of his mouth. "Fantastic," said Donk. "Let me try," said Tom. Tom held the wand in his mouth, thought hard and poof, the muskox was now wearing a onesie made entirely of moss. "Tom," said Donk, "that looks ridiculous." "All right," said Dink. "We are ready for the cinema." "Hold on," said Donk. Donk tried out a few more outfits: fluffy pajamas, a rubber wetsuit, an evening gown, a spacesuit. "Donk," said Dink, "just pick one." Donk settled on a very snazzy tuxedo. The three of them headed towards the village. When they reached the cinema, they plunked down their box of coins. But the ticket seller shook her head and pointed to a brand new sign on the door: "No moose." Even with clothes. Donk is wearing a black suit, Tom is covered in moss and Dink. They all stand at the ticket booth and the ticket lady is pointing at sign of a moose with a red cross through it. They looked over at the ticket seller, who shrugged and looked very pleased. Dink and Donk were so sad, especially after the door opened and the delicious smell of buttery popcorn reached their noses. The three of them trudged to the other side of the street. Tom had a funny look on his face. "Oh, don't mind me," said Tom. "I was thinking about the Instaclothes wand. Can it make clothes for anyone?" Dink nodded. "I just had an idea," said Tom. "But it's kinda silly, so you probably don't want to hear it." Donk and Dink said they did want to hear it. So, Tom whispered into their ears. "A few." Dink tiptoed to the cinema, pointed the Instaclothes wand towards the ticket booth and poof, the wand did its job perfectly. Donk and Tom joined Dink and they all entered the cinema. "Hey," said the ticket seller. "Where do you think you're going?" "No moose allowed." "Oh, really?" said Donk. "Does that include you?" The ticket seller saw her reflection in the glass and yelped. She was dressed like a moose. She didn't know that Dink had used the Instaclothes wand to put her in a full-body moose costume. The ticket lady is dressed in a brown moose costume. Now the ticket seller didn't know what to do. She had to go inside the cinema to start the next film. But if she's now a moose, then she's not allowed in. The ticket seller sighed, then took down the "No Moose" sign. And that's how Donk, Dink and Tom were able to watch a film and eat popcorn. Later, Donk turned to Tom and said, "It's a good thing you came along." Dink gave Tom a very mossy hug. Then she stepped into her glowing bubblebus and, asterisk she was gone. Dink hugs Tom, who is covered in green moss. The end.